WhiskyJason here. Whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, tasting often rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have a single cask from Daluan, from a German independent bottler called the Caskhound. So behind the Caskhound is a guy I know fairly well. His name is Tilo Schnabel, and this is a 12-year-old Daluan. So it was distilled on the 6th of May 2009, and then it was bottled on the 10th of November 2021. So it came out basically the end of December, the beginning of January 2022. And it actually received a 330-day finish in a first fill Port Barrique cask. And that first fill Port Barrique cask's number was 307388, which means nothing to anyone. But the Whiskybase number is Whiskybase 200278. 267 bottles, 58.4% ABV. Now, the funny thing about this is, for me, this bottle's still available. Now, Tilo Schnabel, he has actually risen up in the ranks of the German independent bottler scene by being a good guy. Now, what do I mean by being a good guy? His prices are almost still fair. And at the very beginning, I think this year he actually went full-time. Before that, he was doing this part-time. And he would actually do cask shares. So he'd actually go to Scotland 3, 4, 5 times a year, go make sure he gets the right casks, re-rack those casks. Often in this case, you took an old Daluan cask, maybe no one actually wanted, say, hey, I can do something with this. I can get my hands on a good first fill Port Barrique, and I'll just put it in there for about a year, and then ta-da, I have something nice. And he financed a lot of it by actually doing like a cask share. Half of the cask would be actually divided up into maybe 3 bottles each or 2 bottles each, and then you pay your money, and then when the bottles are finished, you're sent them, and he has a little bit of cash to finance the whole thing. Now, he's done a lot of cask shares. I think I own like 30 cask shares already with him. 20, it might be 30, going on 30, who knows. But he's done cask shares that will be in 2 years and in 10 years, and he did one that was in 18 years. So that's going to be a cask which is finished in the year 2040. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be alive in 2040. I'll be retired by then. And that's one of those things where you just kind of go, oh, wow. Now, younger people 30, not 50-something like me, I will go, oh, that's cool. I'll have that when I retire. I'll have that when I turn 50, or I'll have that whenever. And that's a form of trust as well. Who knows if Tilo's going to still be there and doing that in 18 years from now. But whiskey is a long-term business. It's not something we can turn around in 3 years. It's something that we can often turn around in 8, 12, 15, 18, 21, and so on years. So it's something that we need patience for, and something that we actually, a master distiller will actually lay down casks that their predecessor oftentimes will actually bottle. So now, what am I going to compare this to? Now, I can hear many of you out there screaming, Jason, no, that's not fair for the Daluan. Now, this is a single cask from Israel. This was matured for 3 years and 1 day, literally 1 day, in a port cask in Israel. And here we have 54.8. Here we have 58.8, so 4% percentage points more. And we have here 3 versus 12 years. And we have here a full maturation in port for 3 years. And we have here a finish for 330 days. The price. The price of this bottle over here for a 0.5 is 60 euros. So we're talking around 75 to 80 euros for this. This, the full 0.7, costs, it's for one single, it's a store pick. All right, it's an exclusive store pick for Feingeist in Möbris. That's by Frankfurt, and this is 67 euros. So this is cheaper, this is younger, this is stronger, and this is full maturation versus the finish. And I personally think that it's a fair fight. And I'm going to put my money on the M&H. So you can take an old 12-year-old cask, an inactive cask, and finish it for 330 days and turn it into something that's okay. But to have a full maturation in the heat of Israel makes a whiskey just so much better. Personal opinion, okay? Good. First of all, take a look at the color. Yeah, so you see dark and you see not so dark. We'll take a look at the nose. Now this nose is weird. I get something like I get a little bit of a brisket moment. Now, many of you are going to go, what? Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of brisket. I'm getting brisket that has been actually cooked in a nice red wine sauce. There's a meatiness to this, and there's that red wine moment going on there, that port. There's a little bit of licorice, like a red licorice in here, and there's a little bit of a herbal moment going on there, almost like a sage. Now, these are not, for me, typical notes for a whiskey. This is a little bit out there in left field. Now, I have my nice little book here that I always love to quote from, the Malt Whiskey Yearbook. And I go over here to the word D for Daluan. And I actually find out that I did not know one thing about Daluan, their claim to fame. Now, if you've ever been by Roy, by Aquavite, I do remember this being a question 3 or 4 years ago. Which distillery had the very first pagoda? Pagodas are these roofs that you have so that the peat smoke can actually dissipate. And so they look a little bit like this. And every good distillery has at least one pagoda, or some distilleries have 3 or 4 actually. All right, so that was actually what happened here. We have the first pagoda was installed in 1889 by Charles Cree Doing, D-O-I-G, weird name. And it unfortunately collapsed on itself in 1917. But that same design is used everywhere else. Now, this is one of the 28 malt distilleries Diageo has in Scotland. It's a workhorse, so they're putting out about 2.6 million liters of alcohol. They have here, which I did not know, it said here, all the condensers are made of copper as usual, but until a few years ago, some were made of stainless steel to help achieve a sulfury style of new make. I don't like sulfur in my new make. And in 2015, the fermentation times were changed to produce a more waxy character to the spirit. The plan for 2021 is to do 3 short, 80 hours, and 9 long fermentations per week, amounting to 2.6 million liters of pure alcohol. All right, very, very good. So we have here a whiskey that was before those changes when it was distilled back then in the year 2009. Okay, so first question of the day. What is your favorite Daluan expression? There is a Daluan, I think it's 16 years of age. It's a flora and fauna, and it's usually, I think if I remember correctly, also aged in sherry casks. And I did find when I did the blind tasting many years ago of the flora and faunas that were available to me, that there was a sulfur moment. I attributed it to the casks, and it might have been the spirit itself. So this is, as I said, funky. A little bit of anise, a little bit of that licorice, that red licorice moment going on here. On the contrary, the Israeli 3-year-old, this is for everyone who wants to look, Whiskybase number 177391. This was distilled on the 14th of December 2017. It was bottled on the 15th of December 2020, exactly 3 years and 1 day. And there's 378 bottles of this from the fortified port wine cask. Excellent, excellent stuff. I really, really, really like this. All right, so we have to go back to this, the Daluan, and try it. Now, it says here it's a limited series of 2021, and it's part 5, which means it's the 5th bottling from 2021 from the Caskhound. And then it says here, Animals of Alba the Golden Eagle. I don't know if you can see this or not, but he has a nice little picture on there. So he had different animals. And here you have his logo, the Caskhound. He's like a hound. And you have the Daluan 12. So I actually have bottle number 173 of the 267. So someone wrote on each and every bottle and their bottle numbers. I've done that before. Not good. Not a happy Jason there. Cheers. Mm. There's a lot of heat, a lot of alcohol going on here. Now, it is cask strength. We do have 54.8%. It says natural cask strength here. So this bottle has lost, or this barrel has lost a little bit of the content over the 12 or 11 years. What is peculiar for me is we have a first fill Port Barrique. A barrique is 225 liters. And we have 267 0.5 liter cask strength bottles. That means for me that this was a hogshead. This was a refill hogshead, which means it's been used 3-4 times. So hogshead 250. 10 years later, so just say we have 1% less, so we're going to have 25 less, 225. So we can fit that perfectly into the barrique. And yet we only get 267 bottles out of that. Where's the rest? What do I mean with the rest? These are 0.5 liter bottles. From 225 liters, we could be getting, after 330 days of a finish, up to 500, not 500. We should be getting up to 450 bottles. So let's say 400 bottles. Yeah, taking away a little bit of angel share, there should be 400 bottles, and yet there's only 267. Where are those 130 bottles? Did the angels steal them? Are they still maturing someplace? Is that my private little stash I have as a whiskey hound and I can just enjoy it myself? I don't know. I really don't know. All right. So if I add water to this, and I have to actually, the 54.8 is just a little bit too hot for me. Going to bring it down to about 49%. Just smelling the nice milk and honey here. This is not a typical whiskey. I'm still getting a little bit of that herbal sage moment. I'm getting a licorice moment. I'm not getting the port that I was expecting. There's a little bit of a raspberry, creamy moment going on there in the very, very back end. There's pepper. There's a little bit of heat, even with water diluting it down to 46, 48%. This is, for me, in my book, something that just does not click with me. All right, so we have here C- whiskey, and we're talking about a price of 60 euros for 0.5. Ouch. So 75, almost 80 euros for the big bottle. No, thank you. Yeah, that's D plus. Now, there are many, many, many other bottlings from the Caskhound that were much, much better. He has different brands and he's doing different things, and he has a lot of creativity, and he has actually a good system of taking older casks maybe other people did not want, putting it, re-racking it into fresh, good wood, and creating something that's great. At least good. There are people out there who like that. If you look at the Whiskybase numbers here, we have basically 82, 3, 84, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we have one guy that said 94. Might be a girl. All right, one person said 94, and it's like, oh, okay, they really, really like this. I'm not sure. This 3 year, 1 day old. It's so good. There's so much wood. There's so much density. There's so much complexity here. I'm just totally going to ignore the 3 years and 1 day. I'm going to say this is a full maturation port. This is 58.8% cask strength, 378 bottles. Yeah, that's what we should be at, right? And this was a store pick for Feingeist. Cheers. Mm. 67 euros in Germany. There is wood, but there's brown sugar. There's a little bit of a, it's interesting. Here we have a very, very light raspberry. Here we're going almost into plums. It's almost like a dark red vintage port. Tony, excellent thing here. This is going to be C++, B minus minus. On a good day, even a B minus. I like this. So, what lesson can we learn? First lesson is age is not everything in this world. The climatic conditions of Israel allow us to age whiskey much faster than in the almost unique climate of Scotland. Scotland, Ireland are one of the very few places in the world that it rains almost constantly and it's 60 degrees. In the winter, in the summer, in the spring, in the fall, it's between 50 and 60 degrees almost always. Everyone else has a summer. Everyone else has a winter. Everyone else has the seasons. And in Scotland, it's basically almost always the same. And that does not really gel well with the maturation whiskeys. They are much, 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 much slower. Everything's in slow motion in the maturation department with Ireland and with Scotland in comparison to fast forward. So speed it up, Scotty, in Ireland. And so this is actually my choice. So what is your favorite Daluan? What is your favorite whiskey from Milk and Honey? Or what is your favorite port, finished or matured whiskey? Thank you very much for watching. 2 things you'll never get your hands on, exclusive to Germany, exclusive to Germany. So sorry, Whiskey Jason here. All the best. Bye-bye.